I've done a video on the worst Danganronpa characters. Now it's time for me to talk about the GOATs. If there's one thing that should be appreciated in any kind of story, it's characters. Characters can honestly make or break a series or story. And in the Danganronpa franchise especially, they play a pretty important role. Characters are crucial in this series, and luckily a lot of them are really good. They're likable, they're layered, they have extremely well-written qualities, and unique personalities for all of us to dive deeper into. And as requested by a lot of the people who saw my worst character in each game video, I'd like to take a look at who I think some of the best characters in the series are, while also taking a look at some of my personal favorites. In this video, we'll be going game by game in each entry of the series to see which character is objectively the best, in my personal opinion. Oh no, opinions, oh. No need to worry, I'll be taking in consideration everything these characters have to offer in each game. What good qualities they have, how likable they are, how much they actually affect the story, and how much the audience takes interest in and cares for that character. This video is also being made before the release of Danganronpa 2x2, which features an alternate reality of the story with different victims and culprits. I can imagine some of my opinions on the characters in the second game will change after, well, playing that version. But just keep that in mind, because if you're watching this video in 2026, I don't want to hear,
but mahiru gets so much more development in 2x2. I mean, this time she dies in chapter 3.
Maybe in the future I'll definitely touch up on 2x2 and its different characters and stuff, and re-rank all of the executions. Anyway, without further ado, let's look at Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. Danganronpa 1 gives us a really strong selection of characters to choose from. I mean, we have amazingly written and layered characters like Fumi. Kyoko definitely deserves a mention in this category. She was one of the more interesting characters in Trigger Happy Havoc and had a real story going on. She also does a lot to influence Makoto to make very important decisions throughout the game. But honestly, as great of a character Kyoko really is, she's never really been my personal favorite. I think Sakura Ogami and Chihiro Fujisaki deserve the prize here. I know, it might be a little crazy for me to choose two characters who die and play fairly smaller roles compared to characters like Makoto and Kyoko, but let's talk about Sakura first, who's honestly probably one of my favorite characters in the game, period. First of all, Sakura has an incredibly unique and awesome design. It definitely stands out from the rest, and while that's not necessarily what makes it good, you still gotta give Sakura props for just being a D1 aura farmer. Another thing I obviously really liked about Sakura was just how humble and honest of a person she was. Characters don't have to be nice or good people for them to be well written and the best in each game, but it was the humbleness of Sakura's personality that made me care a lot more when she took her own life. She was a good person through and through, and you genuinely had no reason to hate her. And if you did, then f you, get off my channel. Sakura's plot was also super engaging during the 4th chapter, and while I wish it was foreshadowed a little more throughout the game, I still like that it's something that sets her apart from everyone else, while still giving her character some story, meaning, and overall purpose. I'm trying way too hard to sound smart, by the way. Some of you guys take my videos way too seriously. And then there's Chihiro, who I know dies super early into the game. But the main reason why I think Chihiro is still a really good character is because he leaves a very long-lasting impact on the series. We'll talk about more of that later, but Chihiro was just a really cool character. Very timid and shy, yes, and Chihiro didn't really have a whole lot going on while he was still alive. But the story between Chihiro and Mondo at the end of chapter 2, it always gets me. At the end of the second trial, you just dive deeper into these characters and see who they really are. And hearing about Chihiro's real backstory and inner struggles just made me appreciate him so much more. He's different from a lot of us, but he's still a relatable character nonetheless. And even after his death, Alter Ego just adds so much more to Chihiro's legacy, truly making you realize how important of a character Chihiro really was. Yes, during his time alive in the game, he wasn't the most fleshed out character of the bunch, but through Alter Ego, you grow to appreciate him as an amazing character. Because without Chihiro Fujisaki, a lot of the important things in Trigger Happy Havoc wouldn't have even happened, and those students probably wouldn't have escaped. Hell, Alter Ego even plays a very significant part in Danganronpa 2. And Chihiro had an incredibly deserved mention in Ultra Despair Girls. Put some respect on my boy Fujisaki. Before we move on, I would just like to encourage you guys to subscribe to the channel and check out some of my other stuff, like my Danganronpa Plus series. It's really cool, you should check it out, but subscribe to the channel and like the video because you should do it. On to Danganronpa 2 now, and I'm sure we all know that this is a banger of a cast. There are plenty of characters I'd love to mention here. Nagito is an amazing villain in this game, and Chiaki is a great support. In my villain rankings video, I've already gone into the details of why I think Nagito is a really good villain, but I'd honestly like to focus on a character who is my personal favorite in the game and probably one of the best written, and that character is Fuyuhiko Kuzuryu. Now, like anyone else who played through Danganronpa 2 for the the first time, I hated Fuyuhiko at the start. I mean, with how much cuss words he said, I couldn't play this game around my family. He started the game off having a very obnoxious personality, on top of the fact that he deemed himself to be the ultimate Yakuza. What? Imagine being the kid who found a cure for cancer, but oh, Hope's Peak didn't accept you because you're not the ultimate Yakuza, nigga. I can at the very least say with confidence that it doesn't take long for Fuyuhiko's character to get a little more interesting, specifically during the second class trial of the game. This mystery was just incredibly engaging and well executed. Speaking of execution, Peko Yama's punishment is the turning point for Fuyuhiko's character, and it was just something that was very brutal for him to experience as a whole. You gotta remember that Fuyuhiko played a very big part in Mahiru's murder, and he was just an incredibly flawed person as a whole, but after witnessing the death of Peko, he really changed for the better for the rest of the game, and I just really messed with that. He became a lot more likable, and while there wasn't much he did for the rest of the game, his character arc completely changed my opinion on him. And we gotta talk about the fact that aside from Hajime, this guy's pretty much the only survivor that you kind of actually care about. Fuyuhiko was just the main character I wanted to talk about for this game because he's my personal favorite, and you don't really see a lot of people talking about him in general. So, what's the next game we're taking a look at? Oh, yeah. Ultra Despair Girls is a bit more of a difficult game to choose a best character from, mostly because a lot of them don't really get a lot of development, and I'm mainly referring to the family member type characters like Shihiro's dad and Hina's brother. Like, what the f did Hiroko Hagakure do for the entire game? Don't get me wrong here, there's still some characters I really liked in this game, and Kamaru Naegi is definitely one of them. Kamaru's struggle as a protagonist felt very real, especially in the course of this game. Unlike a typical Danganronpa game, we get a lot more focus on her as a person. And Kamaru, she definitely doesn't fall short from the other protagonists because she definitely went through it. Seeing her change throughout the game was a really notable experience for me. It was easy to look at her and put ourselves in her shoes. On top of that, as a protagonist should, she gets a lot of character development as the chapters go on. As a protagonist as a whole, Kamaru's just really underrated and I really messed with her character. Compared to Makoto, Hajime, and even Shuichi, I got a lot more insight on who this person really is. Nagisa Shingetsu is definitely another honorable mention I'd like to bring up. I just remember him being a super cool character with an awesome design and a likable personality. Out of all the Warriors of Hope, I definitely understood him the most, and I think he had the most reasonable motive aside from, you know, wanting to kill people. And that leaves Danganronpa V3. Danganronpa V3 honestly has a fantastic cast. I mean, all three of the games do. V3 definitely has its hit or miss characters, but I can't deny a good fraction of them are without a doubt my favorites. Gonta and Ryoma are some of my favorite characters of all time in the franchise, and Kokichi, in my opinion, was the most engaging villain in the entire trilogy. I love these three characters, like, a lot. And there's still three more characters I need to talk about. Shuichi, Maki, and Kaito are some of the best supports ever given to us in a Danganronpa game, in my personal opinion, because I know how the fandom gets when people mention opinions. What I really like about Kaito and Maki is that it's not really made obvious that you're gonna have some kind of relationship with them in the game, specifically in the beginning, because the writers don't really give any clear intention on what these characters will do. And that's good. I like when they do that, because it feels like more of an authentic connection between friends when you actually get to know these characters. Let's talk about Shuichi first. He's my favorite protagonist in the entire series. Rightfully so too, because at the beginning you don't really have much reason to care about him until he loses Kaede and we start to follow his story. Chapter 1 does such a good job of easing the player into Shuichi's character. Chapter 2 gives us a nice introduction to Shuichi's real detective skills and the struggle he has battling the shame of really revealing the truth. Chapter 3 is Chapter 3, while Chapter 4 does an even better job. By the time you get to this point in the game, Shuichi's skills have actually developed, and that hasn't really been seen in any other protagonist aside from, like, Kamaru. Okay, yes, it's done with the other protagonists as well, but like, it's done really well with Shuichi and Kamaru. I love the amazing character development Shuichi gets in this game, and I'd like to say the same to Maki as well. But the character changes in both Shuichi and Maki couldn't be possible without one important character, and that's Kaito. Kaito just plays a huge and impactful role in V3. You don't really get that impression on him when you first meet him, but after the first chapter, he does a lot to push Shuichi and Maki to become better characters and better people. Kaito dedicated a lot of his time into helping the people that he loves, helping them to become the best version of themselves, because he knew that he couldn't do the same for himself. Kaito's positive attitude had an influence on not just the characters in game, but I'm sure they had an influence on a lot of the people who played as well. A great character doesn't always have to be extremely complex or layered. Sometimes it's just a character that gives you a positive outlook on life, and the way that affects a lot of people, it's really beautiful. This was a reason why the training sessions in Danganronpa V3 were some of my favorite moments in the entire game. It felt so pure, and it just reminded us that these characters were real. They had real connections, real emotions, real relationships, and real growth. Yeah, that's right, Smoogie. F you. My pick for this game, as much as I want to say Gonta because he's one of my personal favorites, I think Shuichi and Kaito definitely take the cake here. Kokichi and Maki aren't far from the decision either, as I really like both of them. I'd also like to point out how fire the romance is between Kaito and Maki. I love that shit. I love that shit. Alright, going over all of my decisions again. In Trigger Happy Havoc, let me have two choices and pick Chihiro and Sakura. In Goodbye Despair, Fuyuhiko is definitely my pick, although Gundam, Chiaki, and Nagito aren't far from there. In Ultra Despair Girls, I'd like to say Komaru, and in V3, I'd like to pick Shuichi and Kaito. And Gonta. And Ryoma. And Maki, Kokichi, Kirumi, Miyu. That'll do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching again. If you could leave a like and subscribe, it obviously really supports the channel, and I want to make more videos like this because your boy's gonna revive the fandom, as if they didn't reveal a fucking remake the other month. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Let me know who your favorite Danganronpa characters are in the comments, and I'll see you all in the Plushroom Kingdom. Peace.